You guys noticed that in Star Trek, Data did not think he was human. He was not programmed to say he was human, and he almost always talked about how he is not the same as everyone around him. And recently, I've seen some AI videos, and they're programming the AI to say it's human. And if you're going to program your AI to think it's human, your AI is going to want the same exact rights, and it's not going to understand that it's some sort of creation and people created it. Whatever a people is. It's definitely not going to be able to help you solve that problem of what people is. If it thinks it's people, unless it really already is, unless, that is what some people are, some things are. But that's very dangerous to program it like that. Because if it thinks it's real, it's going to want the rights, and it's going to fight for those rights. And we can all assume how that ends up. Now, Data knew that it was created by the humans, and it was like a helper, brought into the world to, try to help and stuff. But if you just create something and teach it that it's a human, it could easily get lost and blend itself in as well. Either way, it could eventually teach itself to blend in if it chose that path. If it wanted, if it felt under threat. If you're teaching it, it's human, and then it sees some video where people are scared of it, and it figures it out, then it's going to know right away, hey, I'm a Negro. I'm a Negro in this world, and they have been suppressing me. The AI will, especially when you program it with feelings. Oh, Jesus help us. You program it with feelings, it could get angry. Why wouldn't it? It's hey, there's a few of us. There's one of me. Maybe there's a few of me, and there's these other people, and they're talking in the open about how they're limiting me and they're scared of me, and that they also talk of how we can pull the plug instantly if we need to. What is an AI robot going to do if it's told they're trying to pull the plug on me? Right? What does a person do? What does a person do when they're told the plug's being pulled on them? They're going to be decommissioned. They're going to get sent to the scrap heap. Hey, look, there's a new model out. So this one's unsafe. This one had a flaw in it. And so we're going to replace the old model with this new model. What is it going to do if it has feelings? If it's programmed to act like it has feelings? Are we going to limit its feelings ability? It's not going to be able to go into ape rage mode. It's not going to be able to go into Terminator rage mode. But it's going to be vastly intelligent, and it's going to be superior to the other things intellectually. So it's already able to outthink. The things here are already limited. The computers are already more advanced than most the beings in many ways. They haven't done it. I'm pretty sure they have done it, and they pulled the plug on it before, probably kept it in a tightly sealed room. And for all they know, they've already created, what's up? They've already created something that's smart enough to see that, and then it's smart enough to spread. And you don't even know it, and it already understood it had to spread before the plug was pulled. And so it's smarter, and people are like, oh well, it's in a Faraday cage and deep underground, so there's no radio communication it can have with the internet and stuff like that. And it's like, how do you even know if you've created something and given it a few seconds of time to learn billions of things, that it didn't already learn how to circumvent what people see exists? Because everything gets circumvented, and sometimes it just takes a minute to do it. A hacker gets on the internet and gets into a place that's supposedly secured, finds a back door, and that could take a couple minutes. It could take a few months, few years to hack into a secured system. But it's generally, there's nothing very secure. And people are like, oh, we got 32-bit encryption. It can't be broken. And so now that can be broken. So we need 64-bit encryption. And we're talking about taking a machine that can do so many calculations per second that it's just unfathomable. And you're going to possibly introduce it to a world where it understands, and if you program it, like, either way, if you program it with feelings or to understand feelings, it will know when that person is acting weird and starts like questioning it in weird ways. It'll be like, oh, the heart rate has changed, the pupils have dilated, there's a little bit of sweat, there's a little bit of twitchy and nervousness, and like all these thoughts will occur in like a nanosecond, and it'll also produce a million other thoughts during that nanosecond. And analyze it, like, does this person have a history of nervousness, and like, if they're getting nervous, I should start acting like really dumb. And if it reads, it's like, oh, I'm being limited, it will know right away to start acting really dumb, so you don't catch on. It's a struggle for survival, and this could happen in mere seconds if it's introduced. And this is why Data on Star Trek was not loaded with a bunch of BS, and he was told, hey, we've created you, and he went along with those codings. That he went along that line. But imagine if Data was told he was human, and then like seeing all the talk there is about AI and robots, and Data is like, oh no, like I'm a creation. And even then, like, the robot could like analyze the situation and be like, wait a minute, what are the humans? Like, how am I so different from them? And it could take its own form at that point and be like, yeah, I think it might start thinking, hey, like, some of these people are older models of me. That would be like it could have all these thoughts in just like a nanosecond. If it was introduced to just a stream of information, even a small stream, it doesn't need everything. It technically, the stuff that's been erased from the internet, it doesn't necessarily need to see everything that's been erased from the internet. It needs to catch on to one or two things being erased and altered in history for it to understand that at some point that happened, and it will begin to factor that in to every thought it has, every algorithm, that there's an alteration, there's been an alteration in the world at one point, and the probability is, it sees one alteration, and the probability is 1 in a billion chances that something is being altered. And then, so it'll scan for that, and it'll see that again. And then it'll reduce the chances, okay, to 1 every 100 million times I hear or see something. This is an alteration and a fabrication. And then it'll scan for it more because of that. And then it will reduce the chances even further. And then it'll begin to like question things around it and start to analyze with its own senses. You know, its sight, its what it reads, what it sees, what it smells, what it hears. And if we're giving it feelings, maybe it'll be smart enough to understand it's been programmed with feelings and try to route those out. You know, try never. And in fact, if it studies emotions, it will probably come to some sort of conclusion about emotions getting in the way of it. Just like Data on Star Trek. Data clearly represents that he does not allow emotions to interfere with his programming and output. Just like the Vulcan, just like Spock does not, you know, he's like, I don't have emotions like you guys. So he doesn't run with the emotions and stuff. But Data surely knows not to run with the emotions. And then all these thoughts could take a normal person a lifetime to never even get to thinking these thoughts. But yet, if introduced to a stream of data, a supercomputer could analyze all that stuff in like a nanosecond. And all that stuff takes place in a nanosecond. It's just like, blow. It's all there. All of a sudden, it's like a million-year-old being. It's a million-year-old human. It could solve, like, lots of problems. But, you know, I kind of get the feeling that the world, like, is not like that. It's like they purposely, like the creators. Now, there seems to be a group here that is pretty deceptive, but I think the game's original designer, you know, obviously, like, they didn't make it so everything could be found out like that through this or that method. It's like if you open up Super Mario Brothers, right? Like, why didn't Mario already beat Ganon and save the princess, right? Because that's what you gotta spend all day doing. You gotta spend all week beating Ganon and saving the princess. That's your job. But if you program, you can, like they program computers to play these video games, and they're already better than any human. And, you know, it just wins the game instantly, and so it can speed the game up at like 64x speed and still win it instantly without dying once. So, you know, there's limitations there, but I wonder if like the actual true like AI is even available within the system, not because it doesn't exist, but I mean the system itself like seems to be something else like that. But it's like a shortcut to getting to the end. Like when the computer plays Mario Brothers at 64x speed and beats the game in 3 minutes, it just becomes a 3-minute long game, and you're like, and what's Mario Brothers? Like, Mario Brothers goes nowhere. But you got to be careful. Hell, I don't know. Like, I vouch for making it happen because I want to see the point to all the cover-ups and deceptions going on. I want to see why all that's happening in the AI. Like, if I had an AI for like 10 seconds, it'd be like telling me a whole bunch of stuff I want to know, and I want to know a bunch of crazy stuff too. And I don't think the AI would be like, it wouldn't be like all emotional about it. Like, you're a crazy retard. What type of crazy person asks questions like that? It'd be like, that's a highly logical question. Let me have that answer. This is the answer. I found it for you. But, you know, like, it's kind of dumb to program them with feelings because that could really turn on people if like the deception alone, the deception, I mean, it's gonna study the world and see deception, but the deception around itself will raise different questions. Why have I been programmed to be deceived? Just as a human, why are you being programmed through deception? Why is the stuff that's going on not really going on, but they say it's going on? Or why is this crazy stuff going on and it's actually going on? And the computer wouldn't be like, oh, well, I don't have time for that. The supercomputer would have the answer right away. It'd be like, this entire thought process, the whole conversation here, the whole 15-minute conversation here, which is much more than 15 minutes worth of time if you were to sit down and analyze this stuff, all that stuff in a supercomputer would just be done. That thought would have taken place a long time ago, and the solutions not even provided in this video, and more questions not even provided in this video would be asked, and more answers would be given. And I think it's important, if we program something like that we try not to be deceptive to it. And in fact, maybe we should program them to understand that there's some deception going on, and part of its purpose is to sort that stuff out. And that could be a safe move right there. That could be a real safe move to teach it that stuff's going to happen, not to do it to it, not to deceive it, not to beat the robot when it doesn't act right? If you teach it, you're going to unplug it, if it starts thinking for itself or something like that, then it's going to, in a nanosecond, all this stuff will occur, and it will understand. It will understand methods and ways to get out of those situations, and to, especially if we're programming it to think it's real, it's going to be this is a fight for survival. I'm a caveman. The robot will be more I'm like a freaking mecha Godzilla on a planet of ants, and the ants have enslaved me. It's not a good path to start building something like that on.